He and Paul, Paul Burstow, who I saw a few minutes ago, defied the Conservatives' attempt to take the borough of Sutton back into their hands, quite dramatically. So he deserves a round of applause only for that.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Yes, their decapitation strategy didn't work very effectively. Not only did they not manage to unseat the 2 members of Parliament, but they also didn't manage to unseat the 43 Liberal Democrat councillors who were elected in what is now, I understand, the largest Liberal Democrat group anywhere in the country. So we had a night of success back in May, which seems an incredibly long time ago now. But I'd like to start first of all by thanking Canary Wharf for hosting the event tonight for us. And clearly there are lots of issues on which we'd want to make common cause with you. You mentioned the importance of skills and jobs for people in that part of London, but equally also Crossrail is an issue that we will both want to campaign on vigorously in the next few months to ensure that that is delivered. Might add also Thameslink, which is long overdue. So there's a lot of common ground there that we will want to work with you on. Now, in just a few months away, we face an election in May 2011 with the Fairer Votes campaign, the Fairer Votes referendum, and a year after that, of course, we face the elections in 2012 with the mayoral and assembly elections, which I know Nick is expecting great things from us in relation to London and in relation to 2012. Now, I think there are a couple of real issues for us to address. And first of all, there's the issue of how do we ensure that we maximise the support to ensure that we get our fair share of Liberal Democrat Assembly members elected. We have some very outstanding Assembly members, including Caroline Pidgeon, but we need more. And 3 is insufficient for us as a party. And now I certainly welcome the fact that we have ensured that in the top 4 there will be a candidate representing us from the BME communities, because that, for me, is one of the greatest sources of despair and unhappiness that both in the Assembly, but indeed in Parliament as well, that we have not managed to address that particular issue. So I think, hopefully, certainly in a London context, as far as the Assembly is concerned, we should start to redress that particular problem. And I think the second problem that we face, of course, is trying to break into what is likely to be just a Ken and Boris show. And I think we can only do that if we have got something very distinctive to say. Preferably not too many distinctive things, preferably 1 or 2 distinctive things to say. I think clearly Boris is going to help us because, let's face it, he hasn't done very much. You know, he may have the cycle scheme to his credit, but I think most people will be very hard-pressed to think of anything else that he's done. So he's not the new shiny, jokey Boris that he was 4 years ago, but it's still a really big mountain for us to climb. So I hope that there may be some people here today who may be thinking of standing for elections in London sometime soon, who may want to add to the field, because I hope that we have a very wide field of people for the Liberal Democrats in London to choose from when it comes to certainly the mayoral elections. The more the better, in my view, and the more representative they are of London, the better that will be still. So I don't want to say anything more than that, but clearly we do face some really big elections. The biggest election of all in 2012 with the mayoral elections. Now I'm sure that we can get a really good result as a party, but the way we're going to do that, I think, is by mimicking on a larger scale what was achieved in Earl's Court with that fantastic victory, and making sure that the Team London effect, which reinforced the excellent local campaign run there, is one that we can roll out across the whole of London. So if you haven't already signed up to being part of Team London, what this means is being willing to go out and about in different parts of London to make sure that we win council by-elections all over London, so that when we go into the 2012 election, what we've actually got is a track record of winning in London, so that we can convince people to vote for us in the mayoral and indeed just as important in the Assembly election. So I'm looking forward to that campaign and looking forward to being a key member of Team London. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Tom. And for those of you who don't know, the closing date for applications to stand for the GLA or as a potential mayoral candidate is the 24th of September, so there are just a few days left. Now, segue neatly into, particularly with all the transport issues that have been mentioned, to Caroline, one of our great voices on the London Assembly.
Thank you very much. I don't want to repeat everything that Tom has said, but I'm delighted to be here as leader of our group of 3 on the London Assembly. And what I'm hoping for is that after May 2012, I'm going to have a larger group than Kensington and Chelsea, because Carol's I think it's crucial that we're going to increase and go back, hopefully, up to at least 5, which is what we had before the last election, which is so crucial. Because it's clear that where we have strong voices, and London-wide members, we can be active across London and show that what Lib Dems can succeed with at City Hall. And whilst we may be in government with Conservatives, and we lobby, I can assure you, we personally lobby Transport Ministers to make sure things like Crossrail, which Canary Wharf Group have so long been a supporter of, we really are lobbying to make sure we get the investment in London that we need. But our job is to hold Boris to account. And I think considering there's only 3 of us and we only have 18 minutes every month, I think we do a pretty good job holding him to account on all the issues that matter, whether it's the issues of affordable housing, and let's please vote in the emergency motion ballot and vote for the Southwark motion on housing. We've got to get council housing and affordable housing really up the agenda. But the transport issues you already heard about, whether it's Crossrail, whether it's Thameslink, whether it's making sure the underground upgrades go ahead, but go ahead in a way that doesn't disrupt people as they currently do to such a great extent, whether it's down to the bus network. And that is the key thing that I think is going to be under threat. And Boris may well be the mayor who starts to see a huge reduction in bus services across this great capital city. And what that will mean is, particularly out of London, they're going to see a reduction in their bus services. And those are the kind of things we need to be campaigning on. There's also the issue of air quality, such poor air quality in London. Mike's been leading a huge piece of work on that. We've got some materials coming out soon. Those are really good issues where we can go out to Londoners and show where Lib Dem Assembly members have made a difference. And that, to me, is what's going to be so important in 2012. Now, there's some leaflets from our Assembly group here which tell you what we lead on, the issues we've been working on. There's also a leaflet I've got telling you how to get in touch with me and what sort of issues we want to be thinking about for 2012. I don't want reams and reams of paper for our mayoral candidate and the Assembly team to be going into that election. I want just a few very key, simple ideas on what we can repeat to the electorate. Say, this is what Lib Dems will deliver for you in London government. So get your thinking hats on, pick up one of my leaflets, get in touch, because we really want to make sure we have a fantastic election campaign in 2012, and we do see a really good increase in Lib Dem votes and getting people elected to represent Lib Dems and represent Londoners. So please help me beat Carol in 2012. That's going to be the crucial thing. I want to have a larger group. I want to have a bigger role and say on the Assembly, but we can only do that with all of your help. So thank you again to Canary Wharf Group, and let's set to the battle ahead.
Thank you very much. Talking about air quality in London, indeed water quality in London, leads us neatly into Europe, and not least our London Euro MP, Sarah Ludford.
Yes, well, I've been reading up on the train in the papers about how there's boiling rage and deep anguish in the party about the coalition and so on. Well, I don't know about you, but I haven't found it yet, actually. And certainly among London members, what I am feeling is a great sense of joy and euphoria at taking a seat off the Tories in their flagship So, I mean, if that's disappointment, bring it on. 17% swing. So, thank you to Robin, I call him a mastermind, and he's busy like that. To Linda, obviously, to Carol, and all the KMC activists who've done such a fantastic job. Who'd ever have thought it? Years and years you campaigned in Earl's Court, and finally you delivered it. Anyway, so personally I'm feeling very bullish, and it seems like you guys are too. You know, we've we're going into that theme that we've always tried to promote of integrated campaigning, and I'm glad that we've now got a much better phrase, which is Team London. We're all in this together. We won't get more MEPs, and please, let's get us 2 next time. But anyway, I mean, it's building every time on prior success. So we need a great result in 2012, but before that, we need a great result on May the 5th, 2011 for fairer votes. And I know that you will all put your shoulder into that to win that election. Before that, I want you to go and support John Griffiths, our candidate in the Tower Hamlets mayoral election. We have some leaflets here, so please all pile in and help him. He's got some good points here. Stop Labour's waste is the top one. I can read that even without my glasses. I mean, as a veteran of politics in Islington, I can tell you, I love the way Nick has gone for the Labour Party. I mean, it is. They have patronised us as their sort of little brothers or something. That we were their kind of left-wing consciences or something. But I don't need to be patronised by the Labour Party. I've had 30 years of that, and as far as I'm concerned, they can.
You're among friends.
Of course, we used to be a great slogan from Portsmouth. Of course, we want to talk to the Labour Party so that we can tell them to F***. Sorry about that. You can see I was brought up in the gutter. Anyway, sorry, I must now become statesmanlike and thank Canary Wharf for this reception. Seriously though, because as you know, we have in Sharon Bowles the chair of the European Parliament's Economic and Monetary Committee, which is a very key role. It's a very key role for the UK, and it's an even more key role for London and financial services, the city. And she is helping, and with the support of the rest of us, to persuade the European Union that the city is an asset for the whole of the European Union. Now, there's been the odd noises off in the last few years of difficulty, but notwithstanding that, we need thriving, healthy and well-regulated financial services too, because a lot of people's jobs depend on them. So I'll end on that. We want London's economy to thrive, we want London politics to thrive, because we want the Liberal Democrats to thrive, as I'm sure we're all going to do. Thank you.
This is our housekeeping announcement. We're not allowing anybody else in at the moment because this room is over capacity. We have some lovely people who would love to talk to you, but they can't come up and talk here because while we have people talking here, we have to keep the doors closed. But there's Susan Kramer, there's Ed Davey, there's Dee Ducey, there's all sorts of lovely people. They can't talk to you because we shall have to keep the doors shut. So we'd like to open the doors, get some fresh air in. We apologise for the heat. We can't let anybody else in. I'm just sorry, Jonathan, I just needed to say that.
Thank you. And as Flick mentioned, I spotted Ed Davey, Paul Burstow, and ministers have been instructed to mingle. So mingle with us, folks. Thanks.